Naturally enough, this additional proof of what to me, at that period, appeared to be a manifestation of superhuman power was astounding beyond measure, particularly so as it occurred to me that the only costume or articles of attire, headdress or whatnot, that I remember my dear mother ever wearing were, singularly enough, the very cap with its peculiar flat shape and broad ribbons or lappets at the side falling to the shoulders, together with the mantle fastened at the throat with its brooch or some round ornament. I should here add that I should not have remembered even these articles of attire were it not for the significant fact that they formed the principal and most prominent articles of her costume on the only occasion on which she had her photograph taken, away back in the 40s. This fact is impressed upon my mind because the son of one of the village tradesmen set up what he called a studio, and, more for the fun of the thing than, perhaps, anything else, my brothers and myself induced our dear mother, after a lot of persuasion, to have her photograph taken. These photographs were tiny affairs, the bust being scarcely larger than a shilling, but the fact that I still have a couple of them in my possession, with the peculiar cap with its broadside lappets and the mantle fastened at the throat with its round brooch, has enabled me to maintain a vivid recollection of the very articles with which my dear mother attired herself on that occasion. I would further add that were it not for these photographs I should have been as profoundly ignorant of the nature and style of my mother's mode of attire, the shape of her caps, or indeed of any single item of her dress, as I am of the costume worn, at this moment, by an Eskimo woman. These photographs formed the only possible link with the past in respect to my mother's costume, and it was therefore necessary for her to appear in the very articles of attire she wore on that single occasion 60 years ago, in order to establish her identity. In other words, it should be borne in mind that spirit visitants, realizing the necessity for establishing identification, necessarily appear to the clairvoyant in some familiar garb easily recognizable by their friends on the earth plane with whom they wish to communicate. This momentary clothing in the memory of the past is produced by the concentration of the will of the spirit visitant on that of the sensitive or medium, and is a well-known feature in spiritual manifestations.